Galloway is a construction manager and consultant, commercial and residential builder, and a certified inspector for all commercial and residential buildings. And now, here is About the House with Troy Galloway.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to About the House. This is your humble host, Troy Galloway. Actually, a lot of you folks know me, but just a real quick little bit about who we are. I do construction consulting. We do construction expert witnessing for litigation issues. We do a lot of building inspections, naturally, because they kind of go hand in hand with home building and commercial buildings and a lot of new construction. But just a little bit about who we are. But I started something here just recently, well, I guess about a few months ago, and we've been talking about it over the show over the last few months now, but the Construction Consumer Advocacy Institute. And so About the House and the Construction Consumer Advocacy is actually kind of merging together to help produce some of these shows. So that's that. We're going to talk about that, but I did want to throw a real quick shout out because we're very blessed that we have the Moolah Shrine, the Shriners of St. Louis, Missouri, has allowed us to use one of their rooms. And what we're doing to help them, because they're helping us, is on our book. As you can see, I got a book out. We put out about a year or so ago, and the Essential Guide to Hiring Building Contractors. Folks, if you get this book, I guarantee you follow what they said. It's not only going to save you money, it's going to save you a ton of heartache. And it really is very great and educational. And so if you buy this book, if you get it on Amazon, and you just let us know through our advocacy here, and this is our information, you can come to see our website. You check us out, let us know that you bought the book. A bit of the proceeds will go to the Moolah Shrine. The shrine actually helps the children. It's win-win. They're blessing us. We want to return the blessing back and not only share this great information with you, but you helping us will help them. So anyway, thanks for folks for jumping in here and watching this. Hey, today's show, I'm really, really excited about. Now, I've been talking about this show for a long time. Now, I talked about this book here that I've already got out there, but this is a book in the making. And this is the Contractor Cons. And Contractor Cons, what it basically is that and this is part one, because there's a lot of, my stars. You know, I do this expert witnessing and I see all the time where these people are getting ripped off constantly, and they're getting ripped off over the same things over and over and over again. And I just thought, well, okay, I teach people how to hire building contractors, but they also need to know what kind of BS that these folks are doing out here. And it is thick. I mean, I think that is probably why remodeling companies in particular have a lower approval rating than even a used car salesman. And they go knit and tuck with Congress. Now, if you're down there at the bottom of the pile with Congress, you know that they're not trusted very much, right? So that's why we're educating you folks and help teaching you these different cons, different ripoffs that are out there. So help you make sure that you don't get caught. Now, let's get started with this. And let me add this, and I'll add this to the end of the show. I hope I remember. But if you have any experience of being ripped off by a con man contractor, then I ask you to put it on the comments below, because it's also going to be on YouTube. It's going to be a podcast and stuff where you might not be able to, speak, but if you see it on YouTube, hit on the comment section. Tell me your experience. Tell us all. Help us all learn from each other so as that we don't have this crap happening anymore, because this is horrible. This is just horrible what they're doing. I mean, I'm not saying I don't make a lot of money doing expert witnessing, because I do pretty good at it. But, I wish there wasn't even such a profession. I wish people would be honest, but I guess honesty has left the building years before I was ever born. So anyway, let's get started in on this, and we're just going a little bit about it. Do you want to learn more about exact details of each one of these issues? Go to our blog. You can pick up the blog right up here, go into our webcast or our website, and you can get our web so that you can then follow us on our blogs, because we're going to do a whole series on these different kind of ripoffs and these cons. And plus, there's a ton more free information out there that you can get. Okay, we got that done out of the way. Let's get on with the meat and taters of the show. Insurance certificates. Now, you've heard me talk about insurance certificates on a lot of different programs that we've done, and even the last one that we did with Mike Caples, great show. He was a insurance expert, and he was telling us the different kinds of issues that are happening out there with insurance certificates, and it's also in my book where we talk about that. But let's just talk about it for your case one more time because it is absolutely a con. What happens is that you say, hey, ABC Contracting, I want to make sure you got insurance. Well, now in today's world, a lot of times what these guys will do is they just go to their computer and they'll manufacture a fake one. And they'll send to give you the paperwork, say, hey, shelter insurance or whatever, is giving me I'm insured by. Well, they don't have anything. They make up fake policy numbers. They make up everything fake. And of course, you don't know. Well, how do you make sure that you are protected from this? Well, first, you make sure that you ask them to be a certificate holder of insurance of that company, of the company that you're hiring, and the companies that any other companies that are associated with it, depending on the size of the job. Say if it's a big remodel job of bathrooms and stuff, you're going to have several contractors. You want to make sure they're all covered with the insurance. And if you're a certificate holder, what that means is that if they come and they start and say, okay, this happens a lot. They say, okay, they don't give you a fake one. They'd go out and they buy insurance certificate because you got a nice sized job and you're wanting to get it done. And they go get this insurance and they give you a real certificate, right? But they cancel it right after the job starts. But you don't know. You're thinking you're insured, but they canceled it because it was all about just getting the job and conning you into thinking they're covered. But if you're a certificate holder, the insurance company will notify all certificate holders, not just you, but every one of them, saying, hey, ABC Contracting is no longer insured, and so your heads up. Make sure that you're a certificate holder. This is one of the ones they do all of the time. So I really did want to kind of do a little bit about that. So anyway, references being friends. So you say, well, what is the one thing? So I write it in the book. Hey, how are we supposed to find out if this company's any good? Well, you like to get some references, right? Of people that say, hey, they did a good job, they did a bad job, et cetera, et cetera. Well, fact of the matter is, they're never going to give you a reference of a bad job, or somebody that they made mad. And maybe they don't have any references and they just go to their brother-in-law or their family or their friends and say, hey, I got Mrs. Smith. She's going to be calling and just checking on my references. Tell her I did a great job for you and just help me out. Well, even though they did nothing, they're just friends. So references, how do you make sure it's all right to their friends? And hopefully, they'll be friends after getting to work with you. Be friends with them too after working with them. Hopefully it all goes smooth. But I'd really recommend you not just to take the references of being a friend, but go look at the job. Ask them, you want some addresses. I'm not saying, and if they give you permission, now make sure you get permission before you start knocking on doors, especially in today's world. Because it could be a little dangerous being a stranger knocking on a stranger door. But you do want to see what's the job? What's it look like? And if they give you permission, then talk to the customer and say, what was your experience with them? And if you could get, honestly, I would say 4 or 5 jobs. If you haven't been around long enough to supply 4 or 5 good references, then honestly, you kind of like stay away from them people. They're still learning how to be a contractor. So that is definitely what how to take care of yourself on that. So remember, just because they give you a reference doesn't mean it's not friends or family. So you want to make sure you follow through and do your due diligence. I don't even care if it's a small job. It's that important, really important. So let's go on to the next one here. Actually, they're all very important, but we're going to do the next one here. And written estimates. Now, so written estimates, you think, okay, everybody gets written estimates. But what we're seeing a lot now out here for this is that I write it up and I say, for instance, here's a great example. I'll just tell you about a job that we did just recently. I guess recently, at my age, they're all just recently. But When you all get older, you'll say the same thing. But anyway, so what happened is the prices were, they're going crazy out there, and they keep getting higher and higher. And during the COVID, it really was, I mean, it was so volatile, nobody could really keep up. So it made logical sense why the contractor would put this in here. But this is how they're doing it to make it a con to get to you. They say, okay, materials cost, or they say, whatever I'm bidding this job, say at $10,000. Any cost of materials that go up will be reflected, and you will have to pay the difference, because it was by the time I got started on a job and by the time I get to this side of it, the prices may have, went up, doubled or whatever. And so, they don't want to get caught, and, you want the job not to stop because of that. So you would agree it only makes logical sense, right? That's where these con men are really, really good. They take a little bit of truth and they blow it up and exaggerate it. So what they did to this poor lady, so they framed up her house or her basement, and she's probably watching the show. They did the framing of the basement. But then they came back and said, hey, you owe us another, I think, 10 or 15,000 more dollars just at the framing stage, because they said the cost of materials rose that much. And now it costs that much difference. So honestly, because she didn't really have it all, she wasn't expecting this con, it was kind of a new kind of a thing out there happening. She got hurt, and she couldn't even get her job finished because the lady didn't have any more money just to put towards this. But how do you protect yourself from this? And this is what I tell everybody now, is that when you get a written estimate, and then they're going to say, if any adjusting of the prices go up during the cost of the job or the building of the job, then you have to pay the extra. Well, first, what's my base price? Okay, what's my base material cost? Who am I getting my materials from? So you can verify that they actually did go up this much. And then how much are they at this present time? Now, if you got the guarantee to where they're coming from, like I said, you can confirm that the prices did go up. And I'm not saying don't pay that extra, because I think maybe, that's not a bad deal. But what happens is they exaggerate, triple it, quadruple it. It's a ripoff. They say, oh, the prices went up, they only maybe went up by 5%. They're saying 20, 25%. And then they're just pocketing all this extra money at your expense. So that's how you do it for that. You make sure that you got a base price, where you're getting the materials from, and how much. And if you can, maybe you could even get them to lock it in. It's only going to go so much higher during the course of the job. That's going to be a little more difficult, but it depends on the product and the job. But that'll take care of that. Written estimates, don't let them overcharge you, because they will. Warranties. We all know about the tail light warranties, right? And if you don't, here it is. Tail light warranties. So what we laugh about it in the industry, especially these smaller contractors, and how that warranty works on a tail light warranty. The only warranties is valid until you cannot see the tail lights of their truck as it drives away. And after it drives away, there's no warranty, because you can't find them, or they just never had a warranty to begin with, and they were just lying to you. 99.9% of the time, that's what's happening. How do you make sure that the warranties are going to be valid for you? Now, you can only do so much with some of this warranty work. I would honestly, for all craftsmanship, I would hire somebody like myself who does construction inspections that are certified as an expert witness. So that'll help you with that. Now, not everybody has access to these kind of people in their communities or in their state even. I know I'm one of the few in the country that actually do this. So, but that's one way. But another way, so we'll just go over here, roofing. We'll use roofing. It could be deck material, anything like that, but we'll use roofing because now a roofing manufacturers certify their contractors in their particular product. So say Certainteed or Owens Cording or something, they have a way they want this put together. they're the ones that want to say, you got to put 3 nails in this tab or 4 nails in this tab. You got to be able to use a different kind of this material or that. You got to seal it. It's got to have over. They have a list of specifications that has to be followed. And if they have certified that contractor for their material, then a lot of times they'll come back and take care of that product issues for you, and which is great. But you got to make sure that whatever product, and you have to do your own due diligence and do your own Google. But if their product needs a certified installer, like quartz countertops and that kind of stuff, just check with the manufacturer. Don't let them give you a certificate. Remember the certificate BS? About I just make up one and give it to you. Same thing here. So you want to make sure that you go and contact the manufacturer. And they'll give, these people should be proud, the contractor should be proud to give you this information to go to, because if they're a good contractor, they're trying to get these storm chasers and stuff from ripping you off, or these lesser contractors are doing it for nothing just to steal your money, trying to help eliminate the con men. So they should brag about it and help supply that to you. Make sure that they're certified with the materials that are being used. And that's your best form of security. That's your best warranty right there, to make sure that you are warranted. And I know that there's some other issues out there, and some of you are listening to this, and some of you folks know I've been to your house and around the country, and sometimes life just don't go as well that way. Sometimes the contractors don't back up what they're doing, then they get kicked off and they're no longer certified by the company. That still kind of maybe leaves you in the bag, but you're going to do your due diligence to do your very best so you don't allow this to happen, right? So that's what warranties. Very good. Make sure you remember that. And actually, this is a good show. This, like I said, is part 1 of a series of what we're doing. But I would highly recommend, if you can, to download this show or log it or something, because I'm going to throw in a lot of information at you. But boy, oh boy, it is worth its weight in gold. Building permits. Now, what is that? Not all municipalities, not all areas of the country got to have permits. This is more for the areas that are supposed to be permit oriented or expected. But now, what you want is you make sure you get the right building permits. The guys will sometimes here's a story. It's going to blow your mind. Right here, I'm in the Midwest, a big city here in the Midwest. This story happened in, and this was a big, rich, multi-million-dollar home from a big businessman out of Chicago. Why I mentioned all of that is because you think, here's a guy that's a professional businessman, very successful, building a big, huge home. You'd think that he would never get caught in something like this. So he thought he had building permits, and guess what? He really did have building permits. He did have the building permit. But when I went to go look at his job, I kept saying, "Sir, I don't think you have any permits." He said, "Yeah, I do. Finally, I said, "You got to show me your permits." I said, something's not right. Nothing's being done right here. I'm seeing that there's not done by code. It's not done correctly, and there's just showing a red flag. He says, "Oh, no, this is a well-known builder. He's been around for a long time." And he had been. He'd been doing this people all the time for a long time. And he's been picking on, well, I don't know if you could say picking on the rich, but he does upper end homes. And so he could really rip off a lot bigger money than working people like us. So anyway, I contacted the building department, and I did all this just to help this poor guy out. And they said, yeah, the contractor has a permit, but he never finished getting everything inspected. So these folks moved into their house, this multi-million-dollar house, without the final inspections, without the finished building inspections. They're literally living in this big mansion illegal. Now you can imagine, I mean, this guy had so much money, he brought in artisans from all over the country, or maybe around the world, to help do some of the work in his house. He's in a house illegal, literally going to get kicked out of his house. We worked it out with the building department. But if the building department had not been notified, or somebody like me to be there for them, then they could come by and say, hey, what are you living in this house? You can't stay in here. You got to move. Can you imagine? I mean, I was shocked. So, but we worked it out. Unfortunately for this fella, the owner of the home, it cost him thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get it fixed and finished. And as far as the contractor, he just changed his name, went on to be in another company name, and nothing. So, but anyway, make sure that if you have building permits, you call the building department, and before you pay that last dollar to them people, and say, has this been signed off on? Actually, I would say if it's a bigger job like a home, you would literally say, okay, the plumber inspection, is it done? Don't show it to me. Call the building department. Say, this house over here at so-and-so, has it had the building inspection on the plumbing, electrical, yada, 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 yada. Follow through. Do your due diligence. If you're doing that, I guarantee you, once your builder knows that you're doing it, they'll take care of it. But building permits, make sure you don't get caught on building permits. Well, all righty, we'll see what we got for the next one here. Payments and down payments. All right, now, in my book, How to Hire Building Contractors, and you hear me talk about this on my shows all the time, you really don't want to give. These guys ask 50% down, 60% down, 70% down. I mean, ungodly amount of money. And usually the more they ask down is usually because, especially on big jobs, really what they're in a financial crunch. And they're taking your money and moving it over here to pay for the job that they was just on because they've robbed it blind, and they're trying to get taking your money to finish them so their customer don't complain, and then it just follows back over to you, and then hopefully they sell another job that they could turn around and hopefully finish your job because you paid 50% down. But in the meantime, they've probably been down at the boat or a drug addict or God only knows what, but this is what they are, and they do it as crap all the time. So sorry. My wife says, Troy, you get too emotional, settle down. But it makes me angry. How could these people do that? So as on my last radio show that we did with Mr. Fix-It, with Kevin Pandaker, we talked about that. Now, he's more of a handyman kind of a company. And they're kind of a lower base or lower cost. So they like the 50% down. And I don't like 50% down, but we both talked about that during the show. And hey, if that's the case, don't do it on any big job. That's bull crap. Folks, we'll go finish this. If it's 50% down, put it on your credit card. And that way, if they don't show up to do the job, they stole your money and ran, you can go ahead and cancel that bill, cost of that charge. And hopefully you don't get hit. And let the credit card company, that's what you're paying out, some of that extra handling fees of your credit card. Now, if it's a larger job, once again, you got to pay something down for a contract to be, from my understanding I'm not an attorney, and I'm not playing one here on TV, but I do know enough because I'm involved in it, that you have to have some sort of monies to exchange to make it a legal binding contract. So a little bit of money down. So I talk about how to structure your payment schedule in the book here. But if it's a big job, folks, if it's a real general contractor, he doesn't need your money to build your house. He doesn't need your money to build your swimming pool. He doesn't need your money to build your deck. The man should have, or the lady should have credit. And if he's been around for any length of time at all, which we could talk about credit and checking their credit rating, and that's another show for another time. But you want to make sure that, that your money will be applied to your job, and you don't want to be financing other people's jobs. And if the man or the lady doesn't have the money to pay, to borrow to get his drywall there or the lumber, then you should forget it. That's not what you want to stay away from them people. They are ripoffs, and they are going to get you, and it happens all the time. I mean, I'm an admin on Deals Gone Bad, a Facebook page, and I wouldn't doubt that 90% of all of this stuff comes through there. Maybe that's an exaggeration, maybe 80%. It's because they put too much money down to begin with, and they had no leverage. So got to make sure you have a little leverage, and we talk about that in the shows and such. So we're not going to beat that on up anymore. So, and payments, you should only be paying for what you've gotten done. You should not be paying for the future. You should not be paying for your appliances when you're still framing the basement, right? So think about that. That'll make sure that you're saved and taken care of. Scheduling. Now, I'm working on a construction consulting position right now for a guy that's doing a beautiful Airbnb out at Hermit, Missouri. And I'm helping him, guiding him through this. And he said, Troy, I want you to bring this up. So I got you here, buddy. I know you're going to hear the show. This is a real big con. And it happens all the time. So the guys say, hey, I really want your job. And I'm competitive in my pricing, but I can get to you. How soon do you need it done? Well, I'd really like to get started on it in a couple of weeks. I could be there in a couple of weeks, get started. But in a couple of weeks, they're not there. Even though you didn't, and this fella didn't even put a big down payment or nothing in it, so he didn't get caught in any of that. But so 2 weeks later, still nobody. And it had one excuse after another, and there's this and that, and then another, and they kept doing it for 2 months. He kept dragging it out. Finally, we put a kibosh to that a little bit. But what happened is that they spiked the job. They literally come and say, I'll do your job. You think they're coming. You let this other company go that might be 3 weeks out, just as good and competitive, but they don't get the job because this other guy lied and said he could do it in 2 weeks when actually he couldn't get there because he was too busy for a couple of months. And now all of a sudden you're fine behind your timing for whatever your time frame needs to be to get your project done. Maybe it's the holidays. Happens all the time during the holidays. Hey, I'm trying to get my house painted inside before Thanksgiving because I got the family coming over and we want it all done. The next thing you know, these guys were here the night before Thanksgiving acting like, oh, well, we were going to get started. No, you put it in writing. This is when you're going to get started. Give yourself, and if they can't say, okay, I can't pinpoint to a day, fair enough. Can you pinpoint to a week? Because if you can't pinpoint anything, then you're saying you can do it in 2 weeks. It's total BS. And that's it. You don't want no part of that. All right, so scheduling. And then they're just kind of the smaller things there. Let's kind of move on with some more here. Bait and switch. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about bait and switch. So what happens is that, and we talk about this in other materials, and I'm showing this roofing one in particular here, but because it happens a lot in roofing, but it happens in all the different types of material industry. So what happened is here's a true story here that happened with me a few years ago. Once again, very upper end neighborhood, very affluent people, and they had a beautiful roof put on their home. And this roof was supposed to be 35-year roof. And so they actually asked me to come over just to make sure, because, it's construction inspection, make sure that it was done right. Well, it was done right, except, which is a big except, this 35-year roof didn't have all 35-year material. They literally put in some other materials into it, in the valleys and such, that were 10-year materials, where it got the most damage, the most use, the most critical. They used the cheaper material instead of upgrading it to a 35-year material. Or better. Okay, better's great, but not less, because you're thinking 35 years, not 10 years, So they do it all the time. And they promise, and and here they go. I hear it all the time. Well, ma'am, I couldn't get this product because, but here, the product I promised you, but this product's just as good. I guarantee you, I use it all the time. Everybody loves it. And they lie. And it's just a lie, because that particular product is lesser than the other product, and by drastic. Why do they do that? Because I can get this over here that I bait and switched on, and I give you this switch product for half the price as what I actually gave you for the bait. And so I make a ton more money as a contractor, and you think you got just as good a product until it fails, and by the time it fails, your tail light warranties are done expired. So bait and switch. Make sure that all the materials are, and once again, it's good to have somebody look over it because you might not be able to tell if it is. And, nothing else, have somebody review the contract or something, but you got to do something because it happens so often that it's almost like a give me with these people. I know you're getting heartbroken listening to these stories. I know. Wait till I get on to the other series here. So there's a whole bunch. And like I said earlier, hey, folks, if you have had an experience being ripped off or conned, put it down in the comments section below after you hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channels and such, and share with us your experience so we can keep educating everybody, because these cons, they'll come up with a new one just as soon as they got done with the old one. All right. Taxes on labor. Now, check your municipality. You see me shaking my head because I can't even believe that they could even come up with such a lie. Now, check with your state or municipality, because maybe there is some sort of taxes on labor that the consumer is supposed to pay. But I don't know of any state or any municipality in the country that does. But just because I don't know it, don't mean it doesn't exist. And I work all over, like I've said countless times. I work all over. There is no taxes on labor. And you should not be taxed on material either. They should pay the taxes when they buy the material. There isn't any other extra taxes on it and if there's material taxes, if there are, then that is the contractor's responsibility, not yours. Labor, there is none. There isn't any taxes that consumers are supposed to pay. Now, there's insurances and stuff that contractors are supposed to pay, but that's not yours. You're not supposed to pay for that. No taxes on labor. They pull it all the time. And so watch that con. So I had one, and I think we'll probably talk about liens here a little bit. Oh yeah, let's just move right on over to that one. Liens. So until that's, because we're going to blend the two together. So liens, they told me, well, you're not going to pay. It just come up, but it wasn't even in the contract. When they sent me the invoice, they said taxes on labor. I'm not paying this. Ridiculous. Well, they thought they got me. I wasn't born yesterday, the day before, but not yesterday. I wish it was the day before. You can see the white hair. That's an exaggeration. But nevertheless, they threatened to put a lien on me. And of course, I knew they couldn't tax me. So I said, do whatever. So, and then what they did is they put a lien on my property, a mechanic's lien. Now, once again, each state and municipalities have their own rules and regulations. But if they did not follow the rules and regulations for any state that I know of for putting any liens on my property. There's supposed to be certain font size, certain color size, signed off on. There's a list of criteria that has to be asked and applied. Now, in my particular area, you almost have to volunteer to have somebody put a lien on your property, let them do that to do it. But some places are not as, easygoing as that, and they're a little more stricter. But if it's an illegal lien, like this one was, so they put an illegal lien, so I got a hold of them. Their wife, this is funny. It was funny, actually. So his wife owned the company. Because he had already screwed up enough times that he'd had a bad reputation, so his wife had the name of the new company. So I said, you just broke the law, and that's a Class B misdemeanor in this state. So if you don't do something about this to correct this really quickly, I will be having your wife arrested, and she will be going to jail. Now, who's going to be doing your laundry and cooking your dinners if your wife's in jail, dude? So ain't no sandwiches for you. Yeah. Okay. Now all the women are going to be mad at me for that statement. But in all sincerity, illegal liens, just check. Don't let them threaten you with liens. That's a scare tactic. 99% of the time, that most of these smaller contractors don't even know how to even process getting the right paperwork or anything for liens. Make sure you don't get caught in that, because that's BS. All right. So we're going to move on to HVAC cons, heating and air conditioning cons. So here's this guy, he's checking out that, he looks like he's really on it, don't he? And he probably is. So one of the big things that we talk about is when these guys come out there and they look at your AC unit, your furnace unit, and your air conditioner, and they say, Mr. Smith, we could fix your AC unit, but but it's past its life expectancy. Oh, here's a story. This happened to my own son. So he calls me. He says, Dad, my furnace went out. It was really cold. He says, I got to get it fixed. What do you think I should do? And you'll love this story. So anyway, I said, well, start calling up some people. And if you need any help, I know some good guys out there. But whatever you do, don't call one of them people that are advertising on the radio or TV, because most all the time, they're just rip-offs and they pull the same stunt. So what does he do? He calls me up. He says, Dad, hey, Dad, he said, they told me, now this has been a few years ago, several years ago, you'll know by the pricing when I give it. He said, they told me that my furnace is past its life expectancy. I said, okay. I saw the con coming right then, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. He said, and they could just replace this whole furnace right now while we're here, and they could save me a lot of money because they're already here. And they happen to have one on the truck that probably would fit, he thinks, for $6,000, which is, well, and really at that time, it wasn't a bad price, but it was still kind of high. And I said, well, how much did they say it would cost to fix your job? And he said $600, but they can't guarantee that'll fix it for any length of time. I said, I tell you what, son. No, I tell you what. You get it fixed. Don't get furnace replaced. And the boy my son could have easily afforded it, but that wasn't the point. I said, if you paid us $600, get it fixed. If it breaks down in a year or so after that, then you can say, hey, Dad, and you could tell me forever, hey, Dad, I should have listened to you. You didn't know what you was talking about. You know how kids do. They love to razz you, I said, and you get to do this forever. But if your dad's right, then for every holiday and everything, I'm going to rub it in. You should listen to your dad, listen to your parents, listen to your dad. He sold that house like 10, 12 years later, and he never had to get that furnace replaced. And it's a gift that keeps giving, because I never let him live it down. And that's why I'm talking right now, because when he listens to this, he's going to know who. Listen to your parents. Good lesson. That should be a lesson itself. But why is that? How do they get away with this? How do they trick you into thinking that it's that past life expectancy? So there's a flow chart that they show you. And that flow chart, it comes along here, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and those levels across, and all of a sudden it spikes up in X amount of years, and then it comes back down and then goes back over and flat lines out again. So, but if you read the fine print of this, what really is happening is if you look at it, it says that's when it's going to need repaired. Anticipate repair cost at this time to be more than any other time. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't need a repair within the next year or two. I mean, even Mercedes-Benzes have warranties, because things happen, right? But you don't expect your Mercedes-Benz to die instantly. It's going to be a long time before it actually starts to have any kind of mechanical issues. Same with like on your HVAC. And so that means that's when it needs repaired. And that's why it comes back down and then levels out, because after you've been through your repair cycle, service time, then you can go ahead and then it equals out and runs for a few more years. And then it'll spike again naturally because of like everything, it does wear out. But think about that. Maybe you want to take advantage of the good price and you want to get a new system in. But a lot of times, when our furnaces or HVAC systems go out, we really are not sitting with a few extra $1,000 waiting to give it to somebody coming in here to con me out of it. So you want to make sure that you think about that. Do I want to fix it? Because I can. Now, there's one, we'll talk about that in a little bit here. Here's another one here. I can't find the Freon. So anyway, and that's a big one, or you got Freon that's been leaking out of your system. And they say, I can't find the Freon. Well, that's not true. They don't just take this Freon and when they take an old system out and they put the new system in, they're not allowed to take that Freon out of that old system and just dump it into the environment. It's against the law. They have to recapture it. And then they save that. Then they have this on hand. Now they have an older product that that doesn't go in the newer systems, And now they can take it and kind of send it to somebody or something. That's their business. But a lot of times they hold it in reserve so as that they have something to resell if you need it recharged. But you just think about it, do you have it? And if they say that you got to have it automatically and they don't save it, nobody saves it, they give you the con. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Then you got a con man, and you tell them to pack their happy butt out of that house. You're going to get somebody else in there, and you're going to report them to the BBB, and you report them to the Construction Consumer Advocacy Institute, and we'll blast it all over the United States that these people are doing that. So, but you be heads up. If it did leak, it's going to leak again. So you will probably need it recharged, but maybe you just want to get through that season. Why in the world would I want to? It's sitting here at the end of August, 1st of September. I'm in the Midwest. My air conditioner goes out. I might only need it for a week or two more. Why would I want to get a brand new system? Why wouldn't I just want to get it recharged just enough to get me through until next year, and then I'll be better financed position and I'll be prepared for it. So that's a heads up on that. Next one here, that's a good one for you folks to remember. Dirty air filters. Now, what we see here is when we get a dirty air filter coming in here, is that you'll see water at the bottom and coming out of your condensate of your furnace. And a lot of times if you have a dirty filter, literally that water will be boiling out of there, or not boiling, actually bubbling out of there, and rust out your plenum, rust out the furnace, and it's not a good thing. So, but most of the time, the reason you got that water, that condensation coming out of there is because of a dirty air filter, because it's not allowing for it to evaporate. Air conditioners are actually just glorified dehumidifiers. They don't actually, well, that's another story about cooling. And hey, go check out the radio show with the Ramsey Heating and Air Conditioning. Jim Ramsey did a wonderful job on that one, and go back and check on that. He talks more about that and educates you. But dirty air filter. So they'll say, hey, you got this water coming out of here. That's all bad. I got to get you a brand new furnace. There ain't no way I can fix that. Then they take your furnace, they give you a brand new one, and then they probably turn around and resell that one to somebody else, and you got a new furnace that only needs air filter changed. So if you see it, water at the bottom of it, change your filter first, give it a chance to evaporate out, and then go from there. Don't be spending thousands and thousands of dollars unless you're just trying to help somebody put their kids through college, then you could do that. That's your business, but it's your money, and you're doing it as you want, not as what they want. So anyway, these are just a few of the cons. We're going to do whole series on whole bunches of these different cons and such to watch out for. Like I said, check out our advocacy blog that we have. You can go to our website, pull up the blog, and follow all of this, and you'll learn a tons, all free. We're not trying to make a buck on it. All right, so let's move on to foundation repairs. I hope I can get all this one in my time period that I got. Foundation repair, folks, these are one of the most nastiest of the people out there. I thought roofers were pieces of crap out there, but a lot of these foundation repair companies, they're a bunch of horrible people out there too. They're literally ripping people off, hurting people badly. Now, there's some great roofers, absolutely great roofers. I got great friends that are roofers. Some have been on my radio show, and there are some fabulous shows or companies out there that do foundation repairs. So I do not want to put out a blanket one. As a matter of fact, go back to one of my original shows that we did with Rob Jackson and the Crack Crew, and he gives a great show. One of the most honest people I've ever met, and we've talked about this, and he knows I'm going to put this out, and they're happy. Good contracting foundation repair companies are happy that I'm exposing this fraud that's happening out there. And they're horrible, nasty people. So I cannot tell you how many times I go into a project. Somebody calls me about a foundation needing having some problems, or they want to see what the foundation company's telling the truth. So what happened is that these foundation companies, they come in there and they say, oh, look at this. And actually, I didn't get all of this. So we're going to do a whole show just on this, repeat again. And even more detail. But what they do is they say, your house is falling in. Your house is falling down. You got to put in 11 piers at $60 or $70,000. And you got to get these piers put in right away. Well, that's bull crap. And I'll tell you more about why. And why is that bull crap? Because, folks, if there is nothing else on this radio show that I'm doing today that's the most important when it comes to this that could save you a ton of money, is listen to this. If you get a contracting company, a foundation repair company, and they say automatically you have to get X amount of work done to fix it, or and then they haven't done they haven't done any soil testing. That means they don't know what the type of soil it is. Is it an expansive soil like plastic soil, or is it gumbo, or bottoms, river bottoms, or is it sitting on fill dirt? Could be fill dirt that wasn't compacted. They could be right. It could be falling in. But if they haven't done a soil test, they don't even have anything the base to even start with. The second one is did they do a forensic engineering study? Meaning, did they get down and explore? Is it getting washed out? Is there a fault, or is there problems? We're going to get into a bunch more detail on that. So if they didn't do that, then they literally, they don't have nothing. They're just guessing. They're ripping you off is what they're doing. So anyway, this real quick story here, then we'll go back to finishing this. So I did one. I got called on. And the inspector totally missed it. In this case, you would think the inspector was wrong. But I followed my own advice. And when I got called in to diagnose the problem and to correct the problem, what we discovered was first I did the soil test. We knew that we were sitting on what we call Grover sands. It's a type of material and that the house was built upon. And then what we discovered when we did the forensic study is that there was a big boulder that was underneath the house that nobody saw. Well, what happened was the drainage around the house was getting, and we did this, we studied, we got this information because we did our due diligence. Then around the house, we saw the water coming in because it wasn't draining away. It got up underneath the house, and that expansive soil pushed that boulder up, literally pushed it up a little over 2 inches. And I got videos. You could go back on my YouTube videos, watch the videos of this. It literally, like a table this size, an egg would just roll off and break. It was just that much of a tilt. But because we was able to diagnose the problem, we was able to fix the house, and we was able to fix the problem. If I fix the house and I don't fix the problem, all that does is give that contractor another opportunity to come back and charge you more money. And they do it all the time. All the time. I've just heard some crazy crap out there with these people. And so we was able to fix it, and they had no problems with it. But now if you read the fine print, that's where they get you. They get this lawyerese, these legalese, lawyerese talk in these in their contracts, and it allows them to be able to escape out of it. And they don't get any trouble because they've worded it that, that they protect themselves. They don't protect you. That warranty isn't about protecting you. It's about protecting them. And so that's exactly what happens. So you want to make sure that if they're doing a forensic study, they have to do a forensic study. Now, here's a big con that's going on. That's happening in our area, and I see it all the time, all over the country. So I first noticed this was this widow woman. And this poor widow, she'd had this, her and her husband had this house, and they'd paid it off, and they'd raised their children in it. But she was just getting to the place she couldn't take care of it anymore. And her husband, of course, she was widowed, so her husband had passed, and she wanted to move in over there closer to her family and sell her home, which she paid for, and make a little bit of money, which she well earned, and then move over with her family so they could all be together and help each other out. But then they had the inspector came in, and he said, "Oh, wow, this is really bad. This is really bad." It's been, because he was scared. The inspector had been scared because of this con going down. So the real estate agent, and these people are I'm hoping that they're listening, and we're liable to be on the news on this one here shortly. So, and you're going to see, I'm going to share with you some of the information why this bullcrap, and the actual documentation of the codes. But what happened is, so the real estate agent set up an inspector to bust him, to intimidate him to turn it over to his insurance company. And the insurance company, the real estate agent working with her friend, then what they did is they have a whole system set up. It's a whole objection. So they said, oh, well, hey, call this foundation repair company. They're well known. This foundation repair company is well known through the area about being a well-known company. And I can't tell you the names because I can't get sued here. But anyway, so and then that insurance, they're really good. So that they come out there and they said, oh, you got to have X amount of peers. I don't know how that stupid inspector missed this. And yeah, everybody, look how obvious this is. But I don't want you to believe me. He said, here's my friend. He does engineering. Let this engineer come out. This is the last straw this is the last piece of the con. So he comes out, he gets $400, $500, $600, $800, whatever they charge in your area. And he said, and he writes it up, but he tells the customer one thing, but he writes the report up different. He scares the crap out of the customer, or he's working with the customer, and it's either or. And then what they do is they say, hey, look at this. Let's look at this reveal of this door. We'll go to. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to do a whole series just on this here, another show on this. But they show. So look at this reveal here. Well, that's out of level. Well, maybe it was hung that way, and maybe it was always that way. Oh, look at this door sticking. This door's sticking right here. Look at this here. It's sticking, and that shows you right there. This house is settling really bad. It's falling down. Well, humidity. We all know humidity changes from one season to another. So that's not necessarily why it's settling. Remember the forensic studies and all this I was telling you about. So then they go back, see that crack in that wall right there? See that crack right there? It was on the interior wall. That's not even where the settling would be. The settling would be on exterior walls. But see that crack right there? That shows right there this house is settling. That inspector is horrible. They say that. But then they write up the report. Inspectors, listen to what I'm saying here because they're coming after you and your insurance companies, not just the customers, but they're double dipping on this. And so what they write up their report and they said, it's my opinion thereof. So the engineer, he covers it so he doesn't lose his license and he writes an opinion. He has to write the opinion because he's not done the studies. And it's all about ripping you off or ripping the insurance company off. And it's insurance fraud. And it's happening all over. And we're going to go into the different details of the different sections that they talk about and how they do it. Cracks in the wall and stuff. But let's move on down here. Cracks in the foundation. Here it is. This is absolutely right off of ASI. It's also Concrete Institute, a commercial license, residential license for concrete companies, inspectors, and everything. Now, although it says right there, and you could take a picture of it, although cracks do not always weaken the structure of your foundation of your home, it's still important to take the concrete shrinkage cracks seriously. And we'll talk about that further, about the directions of the cracks and stuff, and we'll talk about that in another show. But if they are, if they're only like less than 3 millimeters or less, and that's like approximately 1/4 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch to, and just that is not a problem. If they're vertical, that's probably still only a leakage possible problem, not a structural issue. We'll talk about all that in other programs, like I said. But what they do say, these foundation companies say, see that crack right there? See that crack? That shows the foundation's falling in right there. Isn't that, see that? I got one story after another, all this. So anyway, now this crack is what we call a serious crack. And you can see it. Now that is a problem. And if it is vertical, then the steel may be picking up inside your foundation, but I would advise that you get that taken care of. But if it's just like 1/8 of an inch or so, it's just a small crack like this, even if it's 6 to 8 foot, that's not going to be a problem. That's just a shrinkage issue, and it's common. Concrete is made of water, cement, rocks, sand, and naturally, the more water you put, we're going to talk about that, the more water you put in, the weaker the mix. concrete, the drier it sets, the harder it sets. So you want to make sure that, if they say that, that's one of the cons. So don't believe that. Let's go to this next one here. Foundation settling. This is their big one. Oh, and I hear it all the time. I mean, I see people thinking they're going to rip off contractors and builders all the time for this, and because they think that they really have a problem, but nobody educates them, and so they get a foundation repair company, scares the crap out of them, and then they think they're being educated. And I really hope you folks are sharing this show with your friends. But as a guideline, most building codes and engineering standards define acceptable foundation movements. It's designed to move. For example, right here, this brand new one. For example, typical residential structures may have an acceptable foundation movement within a quarter to an inch over a specified period, such as 12 months. So, yeah, it's expected to have some settling. I mean, we don't want to see, a whole inch, but it happens. Here's a good one right here. And I bought a house where it had what we call plastic soil, very expansive soil. And every year I put a gauge on it. That's how you really should do it. And we do it on big commercial projects all the time. We put a little gauge on it and and mark it and date it, and a little arrow of the crack. And we put it right there where the crack is. And but if you can't, how I did my own house, I didn't put a gauge. I just took a simple thing as I just measured the crack. Every year during the summertime, when the water would get filled up and the ground would get saturated, the house literally raised about 3/4 to an inch every year, raised up, and every winter go back down. Well, that's because at that time that house was built, we didn't understand the expansive soils like we do today. And now we have a way of undercutting and filling, and we'll talk about that in other shows. But anyway, so what I did is I measured it, I dated it, and I kept track. And every time I measured it, I dated it, and that's how I watched it raise up and down. And I could have came back, and this is what these foundation companies do. I could have came back and put a pier underneath that, but that pier wouldn't have done nothing except cost me a ton of money, because that pier is literally sitting on the same soil that's lifting it up and down. It would have to be properly done. Well, actually, to properly be done, it would be almost a nightmare, because you'd have to excavate around the whole perimeter of the home and backfill and take out the dirt, a whole bunch of things. But that's another story for another time. But so that piering wouldn't have done nothing for you. That was just one of this bad deals, I guess, and that's kind of, and no inspector in the world is going to be able to tell you what kind of soil that's sitting on. Now, there's ways of doing it, and I'll get into more detail. And on my blogs, we talk about that. We're going to be doing, like I say, you could learn more about it, get into a lot deeper detail of how to check your soil before you buy a house. Because actually, your building department and your cities and municipalities, your states, they all have been doing soil testing for years. They pretty much know what the general facilities of what type of materials and ground is. And so you can do your research for that. But look here, it's expected to do that. And I will kind of probably wrap up the show, even though we didn't get all the way through with this. But this will help you kind of, but some other things we want to watch for. Adding chemicals to either retard or accelerate the drying time. This will weaken the concrete. Now, if it's a non-structural place, such as concrete, it's easier, and we do, and I'm guilty of it too. We'll put in, so we don't set our concrete, don't set up too fast, which causes problems. If it blows up on me, they can't get it finished, and it'll blow up, meaning it'll be setting up before they get a chance. So if it's like it's a rear patio or a sidewalk or something, that's not a structural area. It's not got heavy weights or anything. So I'm willing to put a little retard, chemicals into it to help it last. Or if it's winter time, I don't want it to freeze overnight, so I will put another chemicals into it to help it, so it's, so it don't freeze up. So, non-structural areas I'm good with. But if it's a structural area, such as foundations, footings, garage floors, driveways. You know, these are basement floor is non-structural. But these areas right there, I cannot afford to have a problem with that. And then you see, and if they put too much, now I kind of should have put this next one ahead of this one, but a next one on all our concrete, flat work, and also our, we like to see it on a lot of footings in a lot of parts of the country. We want to have a substrate underneath it, a gravel base. So as that concrete sits upon that, it even makes it more solid. That is a fabulous way to make sure. Now, a lot of times, the contractors, they're conning you. They're trying to, get it done as cheap as possible. So they'll put the concrete, substrate down. They put the gravel down. They just pour that right on dirt. Next thing you know, you got movement, crackage, all kinds of problems. You want that even underneath your patios. Even though you're not driving on it, you do want it to have a solid substrate. Adding too much water. It's called the slump test. Now, when you do get a foundation, we got canisters, test canisters. I recommend that you get, before when they pour that concrete, every single truck that comes out there, you do a slump test. You get that, and you get that material put in a test canister. Maybe you can't do the slump test by that, at least because you're not out there. Just have them do it, put it in a test canister, mark it, save it, put it in the basement or someplace with the labeled when they did it. That way, if there's ever a concrete issue with bad chemicals or wrong product, or which we'll talk about, some of these other things about with it, you have the evidence of it. Also, it'll keep them from also being so fast to con you. When we do highways, there is an inspector for the highway department. He is testing every single truck for a slump test. He is taking a canister on every single one, because your taxpayers, this is one of the few times we actually get our money's worth, I guess, from the when we pay our taxes. But they literally are making sure that these roads are done and to the specifications, because they cannot afford to have these major crackage or problems in our roads. We get enough potholes and stuff how it is. So get a test canister set. But if they add too much water to it, it just weakens the mix. The next one is not like basement floors or driveways. Driveways are a big one, depending on your municipality. But a lot of approaches on concrete of driveways are supposed to be 6 inches, and then it can go up to 4 inches. Basement floors here, great story. So I did one. I called in on a job, and actually I knew the contractor. I'd worked with him in the past. I helped actually bail him out of his contracting issues, because he was having trouble running his upper end jobs. So I was hired to come in and help sort it out, and which we did. We turned it around, and he made a ton of money. Well, the guys got a little bit, he was getting a little bit tight on their concrete. They said, you only get X amount of concrete. Now, what they did is they had some brainiac that's sitting in the office that had more education than he did common sense, and he said, that's all the concrete that you're going to get. Well, what happened is they were shorting these guys right down to a little bit. So if there's any sloppage or any kind of, maybe just didn't get the truck exactly filled to 6 yards or 10 yards or whatever. So they was a little bit thin in some areas. So some areas were 3.5 to 4 inches. But this test, they thought that there was a problem. When I went to do a bore test, I went to check it. I found that they only had a little over 1 inch thickness in some areas, and other areas it was the right size. And then I saw on top of their drainage system was like 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, just enough covered it. And it was already cracking, and that's what caught their attention. So got to make sure it's all the same thickness. They do that. Now, that wasn't the contractor. I don't really blame the I do blame the concrete guy. I blame everybody on this one, because the concrete company should have said, hey, I can't do it. You're going to do this. You're just putting your customer in a bad risk. I also blame the contractors saying, hey, I don't want to spend any more money than I have to for this floor. So, but what do you care? You want that right. You don't care about the rest. You agreed X amount of dollars. Dadgummit, I want what I paid for. I don't want to buy a brand new car with 3 tires, right? Or 4 tires and 1 with a flat. So anyway, these are the last one. Shorting on the cement mix. Now, a 6-bag mix, what that means is more cement. The less cement that you put into it, the cheaper the mix, the cheaper the concrete. the less the less strength that has. And this is a common way. Fiber we add fiber into a lot of our concrete to make it stronger. Well, they will promise you a 6-bag mix, but you can't see it. That's the test tube, remember? We also said that they promised you fiber in your concrete mix, but they didn't do it because they're trying to get it cheaper to save a little bit of money. Maybe they're running short. Maybe they wanted to, maybe they're trying to supply their 8-ball habit, or gambling habits or whatever, and they're ripping you off. And so they shortchange you, but you won't know till a long time after they're gone. And so that's why you want to follow all these other things we've gotten to. Now, these are just a few of the things that we want to make sure that we're taken care of. Come check us out. Check out our website. Contact us. You got a con that you've experienced, hit below and share with the folks, and share with us your contracting. I will be putting on I'm going to be writing a whole brand new book on it. The book probably won't be out till this time next year. But in the meantime, we're really educating the folks as fast as we can without the book. And hey, and also follow our book here, The Essential Guide for Hiring Building Contractors. It's going to save you a lot of headaches. What the construction advocacy is just to help you folks, and it's almost 99% of all our information is free. We do have some things that you can actually go for and get further advanced, but I mean, just for everyday use, it's just going to save you a ton of money. Anyway, thank you for watching our show, folks. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it saves somebody out there, and God bless you. We appreciate you for hitting like and subscribing to us. We really do appreciate all your support. And till the next time, till this next show, which would probably be Contractor Part 2, we'll see you till then. Thanks, folks. Have a great day.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services. GallowayBuildingServices.com.